Hello, I'm Tilda Swinton, and Alamo Drafthouse asked me to mention a film or two that was in my mind when we were approaching making Pedro Almodóvar's The Room Next Door. The first film that springs to my mind is Persona by Ingmar Bergman, which Pedro and I talked about a lot in the first days of discussing this film. And then when Julianne Moore came to join us, we continued and furthered that discussion. This is a film about two women in conversation, or rather, one of them does all the talking and the other listens. In the case of that film, the one who listens is the sick one. In our film, the one who's ill needs to talk and needs someone to hear her. And so the one who's come to accompany her is the one that sits and listens and hears her. Do you think I need to say goodbye to my closest friends?
I think you should do whatever you want to do.
Bibi Anderson is the nurse who has taken Liv Ullmann to a retreat for her to recover from a slightly undisclosed, undiscussed neurological illness. What we wanted to really look at in that film was the way in which these two performances really become one person. It's not even that they become one. It's not just about it being a dialogue. It's about one person, and they transfer their spirits, in a way, to one another. And we wanted to look at that because there's something in The Room Next Door that happens around the way in which Martha, who I play, I choose Ingrid, who Julianne plays, to be my compadre during an incredibly testing time of my life. And when we first sort of broker the deal that she will be my companion, she's absolutely terrified to be my companion. And yet somehow she gains strength from this relationship. And by the same token, Martha, I don't want to say character because she isn't really a character, she's a person, says that she needs Ingrid there because she cannot be alone at this testing moment of her life. And this sense of two women being in such a liaison that they kind of become, if not one, they become a sort of mélange of two souls, was really what we wanted to look at. And Persona is the masterpiece in this regard. And the other film that springs to my mind as a film that gave me a certain inspiration and courage is Mishima, in which Mishima prepares for his own ritual suicide and dresses himself in this very heightened, elevated, formal, celebratory uniform to end his life. And this was something that Pedro and I wanted to approach in The Room Next Door, and it popped into my head the moment that he mentioned it, this extraordinary portrait of supreme dignity at the moment of leaving life. It always helps to be well-dressed in these moments. Another film that's one of my favourite films and probably an inspiration for most of the things that I ever attempt is a film made by the great Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger, Black Narcissus. There was a moment that we were shooting Martha's dressing up, and I remembered this moment of Sister Ruth in Black Narcissus, the renegade nun, taking out a lipstick and in a close, high, extreme close-up, ultra close-up, applying her lipstick. And on the set, when we'd actually done a couple of takes of another angle, I managed to kind of get it on a phone and show it to Pedro, and he said, we're going to recreate it. This moment is a very important moment. It's something also that I love because in the film, Martha, who I play, who's very ill, looks pretty ropey throughout, and Julianne Moore, naturally, looks sublime and is always very beautifully made up and wears lipstick. There was, again, this moment of transference that for her big moment, Martha puts on the lipstick. And all I could think about at that moment was Black Narcissus and this moment with Sister Ruth. And I'm very proud of that shot. So this is a little smorgasbord of 3 films that were floating around in my mind when we were making The Room Next Door. They are, in my view, masterpieces, all of them, and it's always a pleasure to revisit them. It's even a greater pleasure to find a way of recycling them into one's own work. So I'm the lucky one, and I hope that you'll seek them out and the work of all of these three filmmakers. I also hope that you will come and see The Room Next Door, Pedro Almodóvar's most recent film, which we are incredibly proud to have made with him. And it will come to an Alamo near you soon.